My name is Phil Peters. I was born in Rochester, New York, not too far from Utica, but I live in Los Angeles, California. My work is really a combination of a lifelong interest in art and also science, also a sort of general curiosity about being in the world. I always studied art, or I always cared very much about art, but I did a lot of other things along the way. I studied psychology in undergrad. I was a web and database developer in New York City. And then right around 2008, I decided that it was now kind of a now or never moment. If I was going to spend time with art, I better do it. And switched my whole life around. Came around to, had this amazing opportunity to work as a TA for a small school in rural France. Spent 2 years there. Went to graduate school in Chicago and have been living and working as an artist. Learned art handling as by way of a trade to support myself, and have been doing that really for the past 10 years. My practice for the past 4 or 5 years has been focused very much on sound recording, and in fact the material end of sound, making these subterranean sound recordings of vibrations passing through the earth. So the geophones, they spike into the ground and they couple with the earth, and when the ground vibrates, the magnet inside the geophone vibrates inside a housing of copper coils and generates the audio signal that I could record in this Pelican case that I modified to hold a sound recorder. This thing will run for about 10 or 12 days nonstop. I built it to make sound recordings up in the mountains in California. We can just take it with us. The sound recordings were interesting because the sounds were so low that I couldn't play them back through conventional speakers. I started building my own subwoofers, big refrigerator-sized speakers that could play the low frequencies of these sound recordings. So instead of pitching the sounds of the earth up to something that we're used to listening to, I built the equipment to go and meet the sounds at their natural frequencies. Just a little bit before that, I was interested in carbonization. I had gone to the Archaeological Museum in Athens and seen all of these carbonized fava beans and millet. Through the conversations I was having, realized that there is this, archaeologists look for carbonized artifacts to tell a story, to look back several millennia into ancient civilizations to understand what was happening then, because when you carbonize something, or when something becomes carbonized, it stops decomposing. It comes out of the decomposition cycle. And so in that way, it's a little shift. The way I thought about it is a shift towards the geologic, a shift in its relationship to time. So I had these two projects with the carbonization work, which I really put aside to focus on the sound work. And then Sculpture Space was this chance to come back and actually do the carbonization work, to spend 2 months to sink in and to make that and take that as far as I could. And so I've been in a position here where I've just said yes to everything. I've been here. I brought the kiln. Actually, I brought the kiln. I had built it. A friend helped me build it back in Los Angeles. Brought it here. And I've been running objects through it. And at some point started making rubbings of the objects before they go into the kiln. And so in here we can actually see rubbings of the tooling on saddles, the leatherwork in the stirrups. It's as though they're images of the saddle in the kiln, in this process, this transformation, the alchemical end of what happens when you carbonize an object. I think art is very good because it holds things with soft hands. It can show things in multiple valences all at once. These t-shirts, I started carbonizing t-shirts, and so all of the imagery, I actually had to, because all the stitching is nylon, I had to go back through and re-sew the entire shirt. But once I did it, there's a whole rack of them over here, they hold up, and so they come back out of the kiln perfectly carbonized black cotton. To me, that was a tie-in to Utica's history as a leader in the fabric industry. And so I work as an art handler, as a professional art installer, packing, moving, and then installing and making exhibitions possible. And I try to work at the highest tier that I can, while preserving enough time to have life in the studio, which residencies like this are an essential part of. If you're working by I'm working very hard to install exhibitions. It's exhausting work. It's physical work. You're on your feet for 8 hours. You're on concrete floors. You're up a ladder. You're in a scissor lift. You're 20 feet up in the ceiling. Hard to come home and actually dig in and do work like this that takes a lot of sustained investigation. But a residency is a chance to, put things on hold for a second and pour into an idea or a set of ideas, and then generate some work and then see where it comes from there. It's nice to be in something that's really sculpture specific, to feel like there's a wonderful comfort in coming back and being in discourse with other sculptors, to have this material concerns and ideas of space and time just be so organically a part of the conversation. That's huge.